Same shelf, same tablets, same rising prices from Part 1. $200 in January, $220 in June, $240 in November. But tonight, one thing changes, and it runs the whole video. Watch the register. It's August 20th, and 120 tablets fly off the shelf in a single sale, months before the last, priciest batch even arrives. Part 1's periodic method just shrugged and waited for year-end. Perpetual can't wait. The second that sale rings up, it asks, right now, which layer did those units leave from? And it updates cost of goods sold and inventory on the spot. That live timing is the whole story tonight. FIFO, LIFO, and the moving average, all under the perpetual system, and it can quietly flip your LIFO and average answers. And stay to the end, because the whole of Part 2 lands on one cheat card. Every method, one screenshot. This is the language every business on Earth runs on, and by the end, you'll read it better than most people who trade for a living. Stick with me. Let's see how. One important note before we run a single number. Everything tonight, FIFO, LIFO, and the moving average, we are costing under the perpetual system, the live one. If you want these exact three methods under the periodic system, that is Part 1. It's linked below, and tonight builds straight on top of it. Okay, the difference between the two systems is all about when. Perpetual on the left is live. Every single sale updates two things immediately: cost of goods sold and your inventory balance. You always know, to the unit, what's on hand. This is the barcode, point of sale world. Periodic on the right, the one we ran all of Part 1, makes no entry to cost of goods sold during the year. The on-hand balance is a mystery until somebody physically counts it. Now here's your safety net, all night. Specific identification is identical in both systems. Track the exact unit, and timing cannot change the answer. The action is only in FIFO, LIFO, and average. Let's watch the timing happen on a real ledger. Here's PixelPad's whole year on one running ledger. And before we go a single step further, do this with me. Grab a pen and paper, or your iPad, and copy this little schedule down. Dates, units, unit cost. Every number tonight comes back to this table. Pause if you need to. Got it written? Good. In my teaching days, the students who actually wrote this table out were the ones still with me at the scoreboard. Now watch the cost column and the running balance. January 1st, 60 units at $200. That row is worth $12,000, and the balance is 60 units. June 18th, 90 more at $220. That row comes to $19,800, and the balance climbs to $150. Then August 20th, the sale, 120 units walk out. The balance drops to $30. And notice, the November purchase does not exist yet. November 12th, 130 units at $240. That row is worth $31,200, finishing the year at 160 units on hand. Now add the cost column straight down, $12,000, then add the $19,800, then add the $31,200. That sum, $63,000, is your cost of goods available for sale. It's not a number from nowhere. It's every purchase row added up. Think of it like a stack of pancakes. Every buy drops a fresh one on top, and when the August sale hits, your method decides whether you pull from the top or the bottom, and you settle the plate right then. Let me hand you the one idea that governs all three methods. So here it is, the one idea, and once it clicks, the rest of tonight is easy. Build the schedule with me on the left. Beginning inventory, $12,000, plus purchases, $51,000, equals cost of goods available for sale, $63,000, minus ending inventory, equals cost of goods sold. Both systems obey that identity. One pie, two slices, always balancing. The only question is which slice each system measures first, and which it backs into. Periodic counts the shelf at year-end, so it measures ending inventory first, and cost of goods sold is the plug. Perpetual is the opposite. It costs every sale live, so it measures cost of goods sold first, and ending inventory becomes the plug. Same schedule, opposite ends. So the rule, compute the number your system actually measures, then back into the other. And here's the prediction to hold on to all night. FIFO will tie both ways because oldest out ignores timing completely, but LIFO and the moving average will not tie. Keep that close. Let's start with the friendly one, FIFO. We just predicted FIFO would tie both ways, so let's watch why. Picture the shelf as a rising staircase of cost layers. January at $200, June at $220. The FIFO rule in one line. Charge to cost of goods sold the cost of the earliest goods on hand. prior to the sale. Lean on those 3 words, prior to the sale, because that phrase is the perpetual idea. At the August 20th sale, you only look at the layers that exist right then. The November batch at 240 hasn't arrived. Watch it sit there grayed out, not here yet. FIFO reaches for the bottom of the staircase. The oldest, cheapest layer walks out to cost of goods sold first, and the newer, pricier layers stay behind as ending inventory. Now let's put dollars on it. FIFO, first in, first out, the tie we predicted. Now let's prove it in dollars, one line at a time. Step 1. Cost of goods sold. The August sale of 120 units empties the oldest layers first. 60 January units at $200. That's $12,000. 60 more from June at $220. That comes to $13,200. Add them. Cost of goods sold, $25,200. And watch the order here, because this is the part that trips people. In Part 1, under periodic, you counted the shelf first and worked cost of goods sold out from what was missing. Perpetual runs it the other way round. You cost the sale first, and ending inventory is simply what's left over from the subtraction. Cost of goods sold first, ending inventory second, the exact reverse of Part 1. Burn that in. Step 2. Ending inventory. Goods available minus cost of goods sold. 63,000 minus the 25,200, which leaves 37,800 sitting on the shelf. Now compare to Part 1. Identical. 25,200 of cost and 37,800 on the shelf. Either way. Why? Because oldest out is oldest out whether you cost it live in August or count it in December. FIFO always empties the bottom, and the bottom never moves. That's the kind of one-line answer a future CPA fires off in an interview without blinking. So if a question swaps perpetual for periodic, leave your FIFO answer exactly where it is. That's the easy half. Now the devil shows up. LIFO flips the reach, last in, first out, pull the newest layers into cost of goods sold. But here's the trap, and it's the whole point of perpetual. Watch the graph. At the August 20th sale, the November layer at 240 does not exist yet. Grayed out, not here. So newest of the year is not newest on hand. The newest layer actually available at that moment is June. LIFO reaches for the top of what's on the shelf right now, June 1st, then dipping into January, and the cheap old January layer is what survives as ending inventory. Keep your eye on that missing November batch, and before we run it, pause for 1 second and make a call. With November out of reach, will Perpetual's LIFO cost land higher or lower than periodics? Lock it in. Let's cost it. LIFO, last in, first out, and this is where Perpetual earns its reputation. At the August 20th sale, the November purchase does not exist yet, so we pull the most recent layers actually on hand. 90 June units at 220, that's $19,800. Then we dip into January, 30 units at $200, that's $6,000. Cost of goods sold, $25,800. Ending inventory, $63,000 minus the $25,800, which leaves $37,200. Now the devil. Back in Part 1, LIFO periodic gave cost of goods sold of $28,800 and ending inventory of $34,200. Perpetual gives $25,800 of cost and $37,200 on the shelf. Same goods, different answer. Why? Periodic waits until year-end so it can reach into that expensive November layer at $240. Perpetual already sold in August. Before November arrived, it never touched that pricey batch. LIFO grabs the newest pancake, but only from the pancakes already on the plate. In my teaching days, this exact question caught half the class every single semester. Somebody always reached for a layer that had not arrived yet. That one timing difference is worth $3,000 of cost of goods sold. So before we move on, let's make sure it landed. Pause and answer this. It's the exact trap we just walked through. Same PixelPad. Under LIFO, Perpetual gave cost of goods sold of $25,800, but periodic gave $28,800 from the identical goods. Why the gap? Option A, Perpetual made an arithmetic mistake. Option B, periodic waits until year-end, so it can dip into the pricey November layer at $240, but Perpetual already sold in August before November arrived. Option C, LIFO isn't allowed under Perpetual. Option D, the two should actually match. Pick one before you hit play. The answer is B, periodic counts at year-end, so that expensive November batch is sitting right there to pull from. Perpetual costed the August sale live months before November landed, so that pricey layer was never available to it. Same goods, two honest answers, and the whole difference is timing. If you picked B, take it as a real signal. This trap fools working accountants, and you just walked around it. Now the moving average does something similar, and it turns on one blended number. Let's build it. Third method, the moving average, and it is the friendliest of the three because there is no oldest or newest to pick. You just blend. Grab the running table you wrote on your paper or your iPad and keep it in front of you. The idea is simple. Every time a new purchase lands, you remix everything on hand into one price. Look at the graph. Before the August sale, two layers sit on the shelf, January and June. Moving average melts those two into a single blended line. Add the cost of both layers on hand, $12,000 plus the $19,800. That comes to $31,800. Divide by the 150 units, and you get exactly $212 a unit. That gold line is what every single unit in the August sale is charged. Then watch what happens when the pricey November batch lands. The blender runs again, $37,560 over 160 units, and the average climbs to $234.75. That is the perpetual twist you can see. But do not just take the 212 on trust. Next slide, we build it from scratch so you can reproduce it on your own paper. Let's slow this one right down because $212 is a number you have to be able to rebuild yourself. Freeze the shelf at the moment before the August 20th sale and ask what is actually sitting there. 2 layers and only 2. January, 60 units that cost $200 each, $12,000. June, 90 units at $220 each, $19,800. Now add the units. 60 plus 90 is 150 units on that shelf. And add the money. 12,000 plus 19,800 is $31,800. That is where both of those numbers come from, nowhere else. Last step, divide the money by the units. 31,800 divided by 150 gives you $212 a unit, exactly. And notice hard what is not in that blend. November's 130 units at $240 have not arrived. You cannot average in stock you do not own yet. That one fact is the whole difference between the perpetual average and the periodic one, and it is where marks get lost in an exam. Now let's line the two up side by side. Now let us prove it side by side, and watch closely because the two systems even compute in a different order. Left side, perpetual, it blends the instant a sale happens. Before the August sale, cost on hand is $31,800, over 150 units, exactly $212 each. Step 1 is cost of goods sold. Perpetual costed the sale live, so the 120 units sold carry $25,440. Step 2. Ending inventory is simply what is left once November lands, $37,560 on the shelf, reblended to $234.75. But notice, it remixed before that pricey batch. Now the right side, periodic, and the order flips. Periodic never tracks the sale, so it cannot start with cost of goods sold. Step 1 is ending inventory, from a physical count. At year-end, you walk the shelf and count 160 units, then value them at the whole year's average, 63,000 taken over 280 units. That's $225 flat, so ending inventory is 36,000. Only then comes step 2, cost of goods sold. As a plug, 63,000 minus the 36,000, which leaves 27,000. Same tablets, same method, but perpetual blended before November, so its cost of goods sold is lower, 25,440 against periodic's 27,000. When prices rise, blending later means a bigger cost. That $1,560 gap is pure timing. Spotting that gap in a footnote is exactly the kind of read a future CFA gets paid for. Your turn. Pause the video and actually run this one on that paper in front of you. Fresh numbers, brand new company, TechNest. Beginning inventory, 50 units at $100. In April, buy 50 more at $140. Then in June, sell 60 units. I want 3 things from you, in order. 1. The moving average unit cost at the June sale. 2. Cost of goods sold for that sale. 3. Ending inventory. Work it top to bottom, then hit play. Here we go. Step 1. The average cost. Before the June sale, you have 100 units on hand, 50 at $100 plus another 50 at $140. That's $12,000 in total. 12,000 divided by 100 units. That's $120 a unit. Step 2. Cost of goods sold. 60 units sold times 120. That comes to 7,200. Step 3. Ending inventory. 40 units left times 120. That's 4,800. And the sacred check, 7,200 plus. The 4,800 takes you right back to 12,000. Exactly your goods available. My students used to beg me to rerun one of these before every exam. It is the most reliable point on the whole paper. If you nailed all 3, you can run moving average on anything an exam throws at you. And if you want 10 more just like it, the practice exercises on the site build them free. Link below. Last check. Pause and answer. Same PixelPad, same $63,000 of goods, under both perpetual and periodic. Which cost method lands on the identical answer? A. LIFO. B. Moving or weighted average. C. FIFO. D. It's random. Pick one before you hit play. The answer is C. FIFO. FIFO empties the oldest layer either way, so timing can't move it. 25,200 of cost and 37,800 on the shelf under both systems. Specific identification also ties because you track the exact unit, but LIFO and the moving average shift the moment you cost the sale live. So burn in the rule. FIFO and specific identification are timing proof. LIFO and average are timing sensitive. If an exam swaps perpetual for periodic, only the LIFO and average answers can change. Let's put the scoreboard up. Here's the whole scoreboard. Same PixelPad goods, same 63,000, perpetual on the left, periodic on the right. Specific identification, same. FIFO, next. 25,200 of cost and 37,800 on the shelf. Same on both sides. Then the pair that move. LIFO, 25,800 perpetual versus 28,800 periodic. Moving average, 25,440 perpetual versus 27,000 periodic. Green rows never budge. Red rows react to when you cost the sale. Now, why this matters for you. The method and the system both move cost of goods sold, which moves gross margin, which moves the earnings you trade on. Same company, same shelf, different system, different margin. So when you compare two companies, make sure they use the same method and the same system, or you're comparing two scoreboards keeping score by different rules. Read the inventory footnote before you trust the price-to-earnings ratio. That footnote is where a sharp analyst catches what the headline hides. Build that habit now. It's the one a future analyst or portfolio manager leans on every single day. Here's your one-card summary. Pause and screenshot it because this is a perpetual inventory problem on one screen. Exam radar first. This chapter shows up two ways, a schedule where you cost each sale as it happens, or a trap question asking which methods tie between perpetual and periodic. This card answers both. The 3 methods under perpetual. FIFO. The oldest layers on hand become cost of goods sold. The newest stay in ending inventory, and it ties to periodic every time. LIFO. Cost of goods sold is the newest layer that already exists at the moment of the sale, so perpetual and periodic can disagree. Moving average. Restrike a new average after every purchase. Average equals cost on hand divided by units on hand, and each sale is costed at that live average. And the sacred check that never fails. Cost of goods sold plus ending inventory equals cost of goods available for sale. Always. Scan the code for the printable card, screenshot the screen, keep it in your camera roll, and let's bring it home. That's part 2, and take a second. You earned it. You walked in knowing the word inventory. You are walking out costing a sale the instant it rings up and catching the exact moment LIFO and the average split from periodic. FIFO ties, the other two move with timing. That is the whole game, and it's yours now. The students I watched go on to sign audit opinions were not the gifted ones. They were the ones who sat with a messy ledger on a Tuesday night and kept going. So keep showing up. Part 3 is next, and it opens on a nightmare. The stockroom burns down overnight, there is nothing left to count, and you still have to tell the insurance company what that shelf was worth. 2 methods for valuing inventory you cannot see: the gross profit method and the retail inventory method. Everything you need is free on the site. The exercises, the solutions, the notes, link in the description. Hit like so this finds the next student. Subscribe so the next lesson lands the second it's up, and I'll see you in the next class.